Ellie Brennan's knees hit the dirt. Carrots scattered. Laughter exploded from every direction. "Dance for us, fat girl! Show us how light you are!" She didn't cry. Tears only made them louder. Her hands shook as she gathered the vegetables one by one, while the whole town watched and howled. 24 years old. Tomorrow she'd stand in line with all the beautiful girls while men chose their brides. No one would choose her. She knew it like she knew the sun would rise. She was wrong. Subscribe now and follow Ellie's journey to the very end. Drop your city in the comments. I want to see how far her story travels. The bedroom door crashed open before the rooster crowed. "Get up." Ellie's eyes snapped open. Silas stood in the doorway, whiskey bottle in his fist, the stench reaching her before his words did. "You deaf, girl? I said get up." She pushed herself upright. "Yes, sir." He took a long drink, wiped his mouth. Sheriff's announcement. "You know what tomorrow is?" She knew. Everyone in Dusty Creek knew. The Territory Marriage Act. Every unmarried woman over 18 standing in the town square. Men choosing brides. No exceptions. "I know," she said. "Good." He stepped closer. His shadow swallowed her bed. "Tomorrow you stand in that line. When no man picks you, and no man will, I want you gone. Out of my house. You understand?" Her throat tightened. "Gone where?" "Don't care," he laughed, hollow and mean. 8 years you've eaten my food, worn out my floors, taken up space. Tomorrow, that ends. He walked out, left the door wide open. Ellie sat frozen. No money, no skills anyone valued, no family who wanted her. Where would she go? "Ellie!" Her mother's voice cut from the kitchen. "Water won't fetch itself." She stood. The floorboards groaned beneath her. She pulled on her faded dress, seams let out twice, still too tight across her shoulders and hips. The mirror by the door caught her reflection. Round face, tired eyes, hair escaping its pins. No man will pick you. She looked away and walked out into the heat. Summer had come early to Dusty Creek. The morning sun already burned hot against Ellie's neck as she walked toward the well. Dust stuck to her skin. Sweat dampened the back of her dress before she'd gone 50 steps. The road buzzed with nervous energy. Women hurried past clutching baskets. Men gathered in tight clusters, voices low. Everyone thinking about tomorrow. Ellie kept her head down and walked faster. "Well, well, look who's out early." She stopped. 3 boys blocked her path. The Miller brothers. Billy, the oldest, wore that grin that made her stomach clench. "Heard you're going to be in the lineup tomorrow," Billy said. "That true?" She tried to step around them. Tommy moved to block her. "We're talking to you." "Please, I just need water." "Water?" Billy laughed. "You sure you don't need 2 buckets? 3? Girl your size must get real thirsty." His brothers howled. Her face burned. She gripped the bucket handle until her knuckles went white. "Tell you what." Billy stepped closer. "Dance for us, right here. Give us a preview." "I don't dance." "Sure you do." He clapped his hands. "Come on, fat girl, show us." His brothers joined in, clapping, stomping boots in the dirt. "Dance! Dance! Dance!" Ellie pushed forward. Her shoulder hit Tommy's chest. He shoved her, hard. She stumbled. Her foot caught a stone, arms flailing, bucket flying. She hit the ground with a heavy thud. Dust rose around her like a dirty cloud. The laughter came instantly, sharp, cruel, everywhere. "Shook the whole street!" "Careful, boys, might crack the ground." Ellie pushed herself up, palms stinging, dress covered in dirt. The bucket had rolled into the road. She crawled toward it. Billy kicked it further. "Fetch, girl, go on." More laughter. She reached the bucket, grabbed it, stood on trembling legs. "Same time tomorrow?" Billy called. "Oh, wait, you'll be in the square. Can't wait to see who gets stuck with you." She walked away, one foot, then another. The laughter followed her all the way to the well. The water was cold when she pulled it up. Ellie leaned over the stone edge and stared at her rippling reflection. It broke apart, came back together, broke apart again. Is there any place in this world for me? No answer came. It never did. She wiped sweat from her forehead with the back of her hand. The summer heat pressed down like a weight. Even the air felt heavy. That was quite a fall. Ellie spun around. An old woman stood a few feet away, hunched, wrapped in a shawl despite the heat. Widow Crawford. Lived alone at the edge of town. People said she was strange. "I'm fine," Ellie said quickly. "Didn't ask if you were fine." The widow's eyes were sharp. "Those boys have tormented you for years. Why do you let them?" "I don't let them. I just can't stop them." "Can't? Or won't?" "There's no difference." "There's a world of difference." The widow stepped closer. She smelled like dried herbs and wood smoke. "One is about strength. The other is about belief." Ellie pulled the full bucket from the well. Water sloshed over the edge, darkening the dirt at her feet. "You believe what they say," the widow continued, "that you're worthless, that no man will want you, that you're nothing but a burden." "It's true." "Is it?" The old woman tilted her head. "I saw what you did last winter. The Cooper boy. Fever that wouldn't break. Doctors gave up, but you didn't." Ellie froze. "You brought him herbs, sat with him through the night. His mother told everyone it was the doctor's medicine." Widow Crawford's voice dropped. "But we both know it wasn't." "That was nothing." "Nothing?" The widow laughed softly. "You saved a child's life, with knowledge your grandmother passed down, knowledge that runs in your blood." She paused. "That's not nothing, Eleanor Brennan." No one had called her Eleanor in years. "Tomorrow," the widow said, "you'll stand in that square. Something will happen that you don't expect. When it does, remember, you are not what they see. You are what you choose to be." She turned and walked away before Ellie could respond. The bucket sat heavy at Ellie's feet. Her heart beat strange and fast. Something will happen that you don't expect. She shook her head, lifted the bucket, started the long walk home. Nothing ever happened in Dusty Creek. Not to girls like her. The house was chaos when she returned. Her mother stood in the kitchen, flour on her hands, face red from heat and temper. "An hour! I sent you for water an hour ago!" "I'm sorry, Mama. The well, I don't want excuses." Agnes slammed dough onto the table. Flour puffed into the air. "Bucket down. Get over here. Bread to make, vegetables to chop. Whole house needs cleaning." Ellie set the bucket by the door. "Cleaning for what?" Her mother went still, then turned slowly. "For tomorrow." Her voice could have frozen the summer air. "Every person in this town will be at that square. When they see my daughter in line, when they see what you look like, I will not have them saying I kept a filthy house." The words cut deep, same as always. "Mama," Ellie's voice came out small, "I didn't choose to look this way." "Didn't you?" Agnes stepped closer. "1,000 times I told you, eat less, smaller portions, push away from the table. But you never listen. I eat what everyone else eats." "Don't you dare. It's true, Mama." Silence. Agnes's hand shot out. The slap cracked across Ellie's cheek. Ellie didn't move, didn't flinch. She'd learned long ago that flinching made it worse. Her mother's chest heaved. Her eyes glistened, not with tears, but something harder. Something that looked almost like grief twisted into anger. "Your father," Agnes said quietly, "was the handsomest man in this county. Every girl wanted him. He chose me." Ellie pressed her hand to her stinging cheek. "I was beautiful once." Agnes touched her own face, fingers tracing lines that hadn't been there years ago. "Before you. Before everything. I'm sorry, Mama." "Sorry," Agnes laughed bitterly. "Sorry doesn't make you smaller. Sorry doesn't give me back what I lost." She turned away. "Go, clean the front room, and stay out of sight when neighbors visit. I can't bear the pity in their eyes." Ellie walked out of the kitchen. Her cheek throbbed, her eyes burned. But she didn't cry. She'd stopped crying around her mother years ago. That night, sleep wouldn't come. Ellie lay on her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house settle. Silas's snoring, her mother's restless turning, wooden beams creaking in the heat. Tomorrow would destroy her. She was certain of it. And then what? She had nothing. She was nothing. Maybe she could find work. Washing clothes, scrubbing floors, labor that broke backs and paid pennies. Or maybe she'd just walk, out into the desert, keep walking until she couldn't anymore. The thought came too easy. That scared her most of all. She turned toward the window. Stars scattered across the black sky like spilled salt. Her father used to lift her onto his shoulders and point out constellations. Tell her stories about heroes and queens who ruled the heavens. "See that one?" he'd say. "That's Cassiopeia. She was so beautiful the gods got jealous. But you know what, Ellie Bell? You're prettier than any star up there." She'd believed him then. That was before she understood what the world thought of girls who looked like her. Sleep came eventually. Thin, troubled, full of dreams she couldn't hold on to. Morning came too fast. If you're still with Ellie, hit that subscribe button. This story is just getting started. The sun rose angry and hot. Ellie stood before the mirror in her only decent dress, faded blue cotton, plain as dirt. She'd tried to pin her hair. Half of it had already escaped. Her mother appeared in the doorway, looked her up and down, said nothing for a long moment. "That's what you're wearing?" "It's all I have." Agnes sighed. The sound carried years of disappointment. "Stand straight. Don't slouch. And don't eat this morning. You don't need to look bigger than you already are." Ellie nodded. She wasn't hungry anyway. Her stomach had turned to stone. Her mother paused. Something flickered across her face. Something that might have been softness, long buried. Then it was gone. "Don't embarrass me," Agnes said, and walked away. The walk to town stretched forever. Heat shimmered off the dirt road. Ellie's dress clung to her back, damp with sweat. Dust coated her boots, her hem, her skin. Other women passed her on the road, young, pretty, dressed in their Sunday best. They walked in laughing groups, stealing glances at each other's ribbons and lace. No one walked with Ellie. She kept her eyes down and kept moving. The town square appeared through the heat haze, already packed with more people than she'd ever seen in one place. Men near the saloon, talking low. Women lined up along a wooden platform built overnight. Sheriff Polk stood at the center, tall, stern, badge catching sunlight. Ellie found her place at the end of the line, far end, where no one would have to look at her unless they chose to. The girl beside her, Clara Whitmore, golden hair, tiny waist, skin like cream, glanced over once, then moved 5 steps away. Message received. Ellie stood alone. The sheriff raised his hand. The crowd fell silent. "By order of the Territory Marriage Act," he announced. "Every unmarried woman here is available for selection. Every unmarried man must choose a bride before sundown." He paused. Let the words settle. "No exceptions." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "When I call your name, step forward and make your choice. The woman you select becomes your wife, binding and permanent." Ellie's heart slammed against her ribs. Sweat trickled between her shoulder blades. The sun beat down without mercy. "Just let it end fast, please." Names were called. Men stepped forward. Choices made. One by one, girls walked away with husbands. Some smiling, some crying. All of them leaving. The line shrank. 20 women. 15. 10. Ellie remained. Her legs ached. Her mouth had gone dry. She could feel eyes crawling over her. Curious, mocking, pitying. "Well," a man's voice carried from the crowd, "we all know who'll be last standing." Laughter. Ellie kept her gaze on the ground, counted the cracks in the dry earth. Then she heard it. Hoofbeats. Heavy, slow, coming not from town, but from the north road. The crowd turned. A man rode into the square on a black horse lathered with dust. He sat tall in the saddle, shoulders broad as a doorframe, coat worn from travel, hat pulled low against the sun. When he swung down, his boots hit the ground with authority. The crowd parted without being asked. He walked toward the platform, each step deliberate, unhurried, like a man who'd never rushed for anyone in his life. Ellie watched from the corner of her eye. Couldn't help it. He wasn't handsome, not in the pretty way the town boys were. His face was all hard angles, strong jaw, weathered skin, a thin scar cutting through his left eyebrow. But there was something about him, something that made the air feel different. He stopped before the sheriff, removed his hat. His hair was dark. His eyes were gray, the color of storm clouds before rain. "You're late," Sheriff Polk said. "Had business." "Name?" "Wyatt Callahan." The name moved through the crowd like wind through dry grass. Women whispered. Men shifted. Ellie didn't know the name, but clearly others did. "Callahan." The sheriff nodded slowly. "The big ranch up north. Heard of you." Wyatt said nothing. "You know why you're here. You know the law." Polk gestured toward the remaining women. "Make your choice." Wyatt turned. His gaze swept the line, past Clara Whitmore and her golden curls, past Mary Sullivan with her rosebud lips, past every pretty, proper, perfect girl, and stopped. On Ellie. She felt it like a hand pressing against her chest. Her breath caught. Her heart stuttered. "No, he's looking past me. He must be." But he wasn't. Wyatt Callahan walked forward. The crowd parted again. Women held their breath. Men stared. He stopped directly in front of her. This close, she could see the dust on his coat, the calluses on his hands, the steadiness in those gray eyes. He looked at her, really looked, like he was seeing something no one else had ever bothered to find. "Her," he said. His voice carried across the silent square. "I choose her." The world exploded. Laughter erupted, sharp, disbelieving, cruel. Gasps, shouts. Somewhere a bottle shattered. Did he just... He can't be serious. Of all the women, the fat one? Ellie's vision blurred. Her legs shook. This had to be a joke. Some horrible, twisted joke. But Wyatt didn't smile, didn't laugh. didn't look away. He simply waited. Sheriff Polk cleared his throat. "You're certain about this?" "I am. This choice is permanent. You understand that?" Asked and answered, Sheriff. Polk studied him for a long moment, then shrugged. "So be it." He stamped his boot on the platform. "Let it be witnessed. Wyatt Callahan has chosen Eleanor Bremen. By the laws of this territory, they are man and wife."
The crowd roared louder. Laughter and outrage tangled together. "He's lost his mind! She must have paid him. Give it a week. He'll be begging for an annulment."
Through it all, Wyatt stood steady, unmoved, a mountain that didn't care about wind. He turned to Ellie, extended his hand. "Ma'am," he said quietly, "time we left." She stared at his hand, rough, work-worn, waiting. Nothing made sense. None of this was real. It couldn't be. But somewhere, deep inside, a voice whispered, "Take it. Whatever this is, it's better than what you're leaving." She reached out. Her fingers touched his. His hand closed around hers, warm, solid, certain. And for the first time in 24 years, someone didn't pull away. The laughter followed them out of the square. Ellie walked beside Wyatt Callahan, her husband. The word felt foreign in her mind, while the whole town watched. Her hand still rested in his. She wanted to pull away. She wanted to hold on tighter. She didn't know which. "Don't look back," Wyatt said quietly. She hadn't realized she'd started to turn. "Why not?" "Because they want you to. They want to see you stumble, see you cry." His grip tightened just slightly. "Don't give them that." She kept her eyes forward, one foot in front of the other. The sun blazed down, heat rising from the dirt in waves, but she barely felt it. Behind them, voices carried. "How long before he sends her back? Poor fool doesn't know what he's gotten himself into. She'll eat him out of house and home." Each word was a knife. Ellie's chest tightened, her vision blurred. But she didn't cry. She didn't stumble. She kept walking. Wyatt's horse waited at the edge of town, tied to a post outside the general store. A beautiful animal, black coat, strong legs, calm eyes. Ellie had never been this close to such a horse. Wyatt released her hand, untied the reins, then turned to face her. "Can you ride?" "No, sir." "Don't call me sir."
"Name's Wyatt," she swallowed. "No, Wyatt. I've never been on a horse." He studied her for a moment, no judgment in his eyes, just consideration. "Ranch is about an hour's ride. Too far to walk in this heat." He paused. "You'll ride with me. That all right?" Was it all right? A stranger, her husband, asking if she minded sitting close to him on a horse. Nothing about this day was all right. But she nodded. Wyatt mounted first, smooth and easy, like breathing. Then he reached down. "Give me your hand." She hesitated. If she fell trying to get up, if she made a fool of herself again. "Ellie," his voice was steady, "I've got you." Something in the way he said it made her believe him. She took his hand. He pulled her up like she weighed nothing at all, settling her in front of him on the saddle. His arms came around her to hold the reins, not touching her, but close enough that she could feel the warmth of him. "Hold on to the saddle horn if you need to," he said. "We'll go slow." The horse started moving. Ellie gripped the leather so hard her knuckles went white. They rode out of Dusty Creek in silence, past the saloon where men stood watching, past the church where women whispered behind their hands, past the road that led to her mother's house. Ellie didn't look back, but she thought about Agnes, about the slap that still echoed in her memory, about all the years of disappointment and shame.
Her mother wouldn't miss her. Neither would Silas. Nobody would. The thought should have hurt more than it did. They'd been riding for maybe 10 minutes when Wyatt spoke again. "You're shaking." Ellie realized he was right. A tremor ran through her whole body, even in the summer heat. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "Nothing to be sorry for." He was quiet for a moment. "You scared?" "Yes." "Of me?" She thought about it. Really thought. "I don't know what to be scared of anymore." He made a sound that might have been a laugh, if it had any humor in it. "That's fair. Strange day for both of us." They rode on. The town disappeared behind a rise in the road. Ahead stretched nothing but open land, brown grass, scattered trees, endless sky. Ellie's mind raced with questions she was afraid to ask. Why did you choose me? What do you want from me? Are you going to hurt me? Instead, she asked something smaller. Where are we going? My ranch, about 40 minutes more. Is it big? Big enough. Cattle mostly, some horses, a house that needs work. He paused. It's quiet, not many people around. Quiet sounded like heaven. No one to point, no one to laugh, no one to remind her of everything she wasn't. Wyatt. Yeah? Why did you choose me? The question hung in the hot air between them. Ellie felt him tense behind her, just slightly. For a long moment, he didn't answer. Then, you really want to know? Yes. You might not like the answer. I might not, but I need to hear it. Wyatt pulled the horse to a stop. They stood still in the middle of the empty road, sun beating down, nothing but silence around them. Yesterday morning, he said slowly, I rode into town early. Needed supplies, feed for the horses. Ellie waited. I was outside the general store when I saw you, walking to the well. Those boys stopped you, the Miller brothers. Her stomach dropped. He'd seen that? I watched them circle you, mock you, push you down. His voice hardened. And I watched you get back up, not crying, not begging, just picked up your bucket and kept going. Ellie's throat tightened. Then later, he continued, I saw you at the well, talking to the old widow. She said something to you, and you looked, I don't know, like someone who'd forgotten what kindness sounded like. He shifted behind her. His voice dropped lower. But that's not why I chose you. Then why? After you left the well, you passed an alley behind the blacksmith shop. There was a dog there, skinny thing, ribs showing. Most folks would have walked right by. Ellie remembered, the stray with the matted fur. She'd given it the only thing she had, a piece of bread she'd hidden in her pocket for later. You stopped, Wyatt said. Knelt down in the dirt in that dress of yours. Fed that dog like it mattered, like it was worth something. He paused. That's when I knew. Knew what? That you were the only woman in that whole damn town worth marrying. Ellie couldn't breathe. Her eyes burned. Her hands shook against the saddle horn. You don't know me, she whispered. You don't know anything about me. I know enough. I'm not what you think I am. What do you think I think you are? She turned her head slightly, not enough to see his face, but enough to show she was serious. I don't know. Someone better than I am. Someone who deserves... Her voice broke. Someone who deserves anything at all. Wyatt was quiet for a long moment. Then, my wife, my first wife, died 3 years ago. Childbirth. Baby didn't make it either. Ellie's heart stopped. Sarah was beautiful. Everyone said so. Perfect skin, perfect smile, perfect everything. His voice grew rough. And I loved her. God, I loved her. But when she was gone, I realized something. What? Beautiful doesn't keep you warm at night. Beautiful doesn't hold your hand when you're scared. Beautiful doesn't feed a starving dog in an alley when no one's watching. He clicked his tongue, and the horse started moving again. I've had 3 years alone out here. 3 years to think about what matters. And when I saw you yesterday, when I watched you choose kindness, even when the whole world was cruel to you, I thought, there she is. There's the one. Tears spilled down Ellie's cheeks. She didn't wipe them away.
I could be wrong, Wyatt added. Maybe you'll hate the ranch, hate me, hate everything about this life. But I figured maybe we could both use someone who sees us for what we really are.
Ellie couldn't speak. Words jammed in her throat, too big to get out. So she just nodded, and they rode on. If you're still riding with Ellie, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. This journey is far from over. 20 minutes later, the ranch appeared on the horizon. Ellie had expected something small, broken down maybe, the house of a man who lived alone and didn't care about appearances. What she saw made her breath catch. The main house stood solid and proud. White walls, dark shutters, a porch that wrapped around 2 sides. Beyond it, a barn twice as big. Corrals with horses moving lazily in the heat, fields stretching out toward purple mountains in the distance. "This is yours?" she asked. "Ours now." Ours. The word felt impossible. Wyatt brought the horse to a stop in front of the porch, dismounted, then reached up to help her down. Her legs wobbled when they hit the ground. She hadn't realized how tense she'd been holding herself. "Easy," Wyatt said. His hand steadied her elbow. "Take your time." She looked up at him. Really looked, for the first time since the square. He wasn't handsome, but there was something in his face. Patience, maybe. Or kindness. The kind that didn't need to announce itself. "Thank you," she said softly. "For what?" "I don't know yet. I'll figure it out." Something flickered in his gray eyes. Almost a smile, but not quite. "Come on," he said. "I'll show you inside." The house was clean but spare. A main room with a fireplace, a kitchen, a staircase leading up. Everything functional, nothing decorative. Ellie noticed the dust on the mantel, the cobwebs in the corner, the dishes stacked haphazardly by the sink. "I'm not much of a housekeeper," Wyatt said, following her gaze.
"I am."
He looked at her. "Yeah?"
"My stepfather made sure of it."
The words came out more bitter than she intended. Wyatt's jaw tightened, but he didn't push. "There's a room upstairs," he said. "You can have it. I'll take the one down here." Ellie blinked.
"Separate rooms?"
"I told you. I chose you because of who you are, not because—" He stopped, started again. "I'm not going to force anything on you. This marriage, it can be whatever you need it to be, whatever you're comfortable with." She stared at him, waiting for the catch, waiting for the cruelty underneath. It didn't come. "Why are you being so kind to me?" "Why wouldn't I be?"
"Because nobody is. Nobody ever has been."
Wyatt was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "Then everyone you've ever known is a damn fool." He turned toward the kitchen. "You hungry? Haven't got much, but I can manage eggs, maybe some bread." Ellie's stomach growled before she could answer. She pressed her hand against it, embarrassed. Wyatt almost smiled. "I'll take that as a yes." She followed him to the kitchen and watched him work. His hands were sure, confident. He cracked eggs one-handed, stirred them in a pan over the stove. The smell of food made her dizzy. "Sit," he said, nodding toward the table. She sat. Her legs thanked her. A few minutes later, he set a plate in front of her. Scrambled eggs, 2 slices of bread, a glass of water. "Eat," he said. "You look like you haven't had a proper meal in weeks." She hadn't. Silas controlled the portions at home. Her mother watched every bite she took. Ellie picked up the fork. Her hand trembled. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. She looked at the plate, at the food, at this man who'd married her and brought her to his home and cooked for her like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I keep waiting for something bad to happen." Wyatt pulled out a chair and sat across from her. "Ellie, look at me." She raised her eyes. "Bad things have happened to you. I can see it. I don't know all of it, but I can see enough." He leaned forward. "That's over now. Whatever happened before, in that town, in that house, it's over. You're here now. And here, you're safe." "How can you promise that?" "Because I don't break promises. Not ever." She searched his face for the lie, for the trick. She didn't find it. Slowly, she took a bite of the eggs. They were simple, plain, slightly overcooked. They were the best thing she'd ever tasted. Tears slid down her cheeks as she ate. She couldn't stop them, didn't try. Wyatt didn't say anything. He just sat there, solid and present, while she cried and ate and cried some more. When the plate was empty, he stood up, took it to the sink. "There's a wash tub in the back," he said, his back to her. "Pump works fine. If you want to clean up, rest a bit. I've got work in the barn that needs doing." "Wyatt?" He turned. "Will you tell me about her sometime? About Sarah?" His face changed. A shadow passed through his eyes. "Someday," he said quietly, "when it hurts less." She nodded. She understood about things that hurt. He walked to the door, stopped with his hand on the frame. "Ellie?" "Yes?" "I'm glad you're here." He walked out before she could respond. Ellie sat alone in the kitchen of her new home, listening to his footsteps fade, feeling something crack open inside her chest. It wasn't happiness, not yet, but it was something close to hope, and she'd forgotten what that felt like. The afternoon sun had started its descent when Ellie found the courage to explore. The wash tub was where Wyatt said it would be. She pumped water until her arms ached, then scrubbed her face, her hands, the dirt of Dusty Creek from her skin. The water ran brown and then clear. She looked at her reflection in the still surface. Same round face, same tired eyes, but something was different. She couldn't name it yet. Clean and exhausted, she climbed the stairs to the room Wyatt had offered her. It was small but bright. A window facing west, a bed with a simple quilt, a wooden chair in the corner. On the dresser sat a single object, a silver hairbrush. Ellie picked it up. The handle was tarnished with age, but the bristles were soft. This had belonged to someone. To Sarah, probably. Why had Wyatt left it here? She set it down carefully, touched the quilt, sat on the edge of the bed. The mattress was softer than anything she'd slept on in years. She lay back, just for a moment, just to rest her eyes. She was asleep within seconds. When she woke, the room was dark. The window showed stars scattered across a purple sky. How long had she slept? She sat up quickly. Panic fluttered in her chest. She'd meant to help with dinner, to make herself useful, to earn her place here. Footsteps sounded on the stairs. A knock at the door. "Ellie? You awake?" She smoothed her hair with trembling hands. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "Don't apologize." Wyatt's voice came through the wood. "I figured you needed the rest. There's stew downstairs if you're hungry." Her stomach answered before she could. "I'm coming." She opened the door. Wyatt stood in the hallway, lamplight from below casting shadows up the stairs. He looked tired, too. Dust on his shirt, sweat dried on his brow. "You worked all afternoon," she said. "Ranch doesn't run itself." "I should have helped."
You will, tomorrow. He stepped back to let her pass. Tonight, you eat and you rest. That's it. She walked downstairs, acutely aware of him behind her, of how strange this all was. 12 hours ago, she'd been in her mother's house, dreading tomorrow. Now she was in the stranger's home, married, eating stew he'd made while she slept. The stew was better than the eggs. Beef and potatoes and carrots. Ellie ate 2 bowls. Wyatt watched without comment. When she finally pushed back from the table, her cheeks flushed with embarrassment. I'm sorry. I was hungrier than I thought. Stop apologizing for eating. You live here now. The food is yours. She looked down at her hands. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Be this. A wife. Whatever I'm supposed to be here. Wyatt leaned back in his chair, studied her. What did they tell you a wife was supposed to be? Obedient, useful, quiet. She paused. Small. His jaw tightened. And if you couldn't be those things, then you weren't worth anything. Ellie. He waited until she looked up. That's a lie. You know that, right? I don't know what I know anymore. He stood up, walked to the window. For a long moment, he stared out at the darkness. When Sarah died, he said quietly, I thought about walking into the desert. Just walking until I couldn't walk anymore. Ellie's breath caught. She'd thought the same thing. Last night. I didn't, he continued, obviously, but I understood the impulse, the wanting to disappear. He turned back to face her. I think you understand it too. She nodded. She couldn't speak. Here's what I believe, he said. I believe people can heal. I believe that sounds like nonsense when you're in the middle of breaking, but I've seen it happen. Seen it in horses that were beaten, in dogs that were starved, in people who'd given up. He walked back to the table, sat down across from her again. I'm not asking you to be a perfect wife. I'm not asking you to be small or quiet or any of that. I'm just asking you to stay, to try, to let yourself heal. Tears streamed down her face. She didn't bother wiping them away. What if I can't? Then you can't, and we'll figure out what comes next. He reached across the table. His hand rested on hers, warm and rough. But I think you can. I think you're stronger than anyone ever let you believe. She turned her hand over, let her fingers curl around his. I'll try, she whispered. That's all I'm asking. They sat like that for a long moment. 2 broken people in a quiet house, holding on to each other like anchors in a storm. Finally, Wyatt stood up. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, I'll show you around proper. Introduce you to the horses. Show you how things work around here. Wyatt? Yeah? Thank you for seeing me. In the square. When no one else did. He looked at her for a long moment. Something shifted in his gray eyes. I saw you long before that square, he said. I've been seeing you all along. He walked out of the kitchen, leaving her alone with the lamp and the silence, and the strange, terrifying feeling that her life had changed forever. Ellie sat at the table until the lamp burned low. Then she climbed the stairs to her new room, lay down on the soft bed, and for the first time in years, she slept without dreaming of escape. Morning came soft through the window. Ellie woke slowly, confused by the quiet. No Silas banging on her door. No mother shouting for water. Just birdsong and distant horses and the smell of coffee drifting up the stairs. She sat up, touched the quilt beneath her hands, remembered where she was. Wyatt's ranch. Her home now.
The word still felt impossible. She dressed quickly in yesterday's clothes, her only clothes, and made her way downstairs. Wyatt stood at the stove, back to her, pouring coffee into 2 cups. "Sleep well?" "Better than I have in years." He turned, handed her a cup. Their fingers brushed. "Breakfast is simple. Biscuits and gravy. Hope that's all right." "You cooked again." "I've been cooking for myself for 3 years. Old habit." "I can cook." The words came out faster than she intended. "I mean, I'm good at it. My grandmother taught me. I could—" "Ellie." He held up a hand. "I'm not testing you. You don't have to prove anything." She clutched the coffee cup. Steam rose between them. "I don't know how to not prove myself. It's all I've ever done." Something softened in his face. "Then maybe it's time to learn something different." They ate in comfortable silence. The biscuits were dense but good. The gravy needed salt. Ellie didn't mention it. After breakfast, Wyatt pushed back from the table. "Ready to see the place?" She nodded, followed him out into the morning sun. The heat was already building, but a breeze moved across the land, carrying the smell of grass and animals. Ellie shielded her eyes and looked out at the property stretching before her. "Barn's that way," Wyatt said. "Horses in the corral, cattle are out on the range. Got a hand who helps me with them. Name's Miguel. Good man. You'll meet him." "How many cattle?" "About 200 head. Enough to make a living. Not enough to make enemies." She didn't fully understand what that meant, but she filed it away. They walked toward the barn. Ellie's dress caught on her legs with each step, the fabric too heavy for this heat. She'd need to figure out something different. "In here," Wyatt said, pulling open the barn door. The smell hit her first. Hay and leather and horse. Not unpleasant, just strong. 3 horses stood in stalls along the wall. 1 black, 1 brown, 1 the color of honey. "The black one's mine, Caesar. The brown one's for work. And this one—" He stopped at the honey-colored horse's stall. This one was Sarah's. Ellie held her breath. "Her name's Penny, gentle as they come. Hasn't been ridden in 3 years." He paused. "Thought maybe you could learn on her. If you want." Ellie looked at the horse. Penny looked back, dark eyes calm and curious. "You'd let me ride her?" "She needs someone. Been lonely too long." His voice caught slightly. "We both have." Ellie reached out slowly. Penny's nose was soft against her palm. "Hello, Penny," she whispered. "I'm Ellie. I'm new here too." The horse nickered softly. Wyatt watched them. Something in his expression shifted. Pain mixed with something lighter. "She likes you." "How can you tell?" "Because she's not trying to bite your hand off. That's a good sign." Ellie laughed. The sound surprised her. She couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed. Wyatt smiled. A real smile, not the almost smile from yesterday. "Come on," he said. "More to see." If you're falling in love with this story, hit subscribe. Ellie's journey is just beginning, and you won't want to miss what comes next. The days began to blur together in the best possible way. Ellie learned the rhythm of ranch life. Wake at dawn, feed the chickens, collect eggs, help with breakfast. The work was hard but honest, and for the first time, she didn't dread her own usefulness. Wyatt was patient. When she dropped a bucket, he picked it up without comment. When she burned dinner, he ate it anyway. When she cried, and she cried often those first days, he simply handed her his handkerchief and gave her space. He never asked why, never demanded explanations, just let her feel what she needed to feel. On the 5th day, she asked about Sarah. They were sitting on the porch, watching the sun sink toward the mountains. Wyatt had a cup of coffee. Ellie had water. The silence between them had grown comfortable. "Tell me about her," Ellie said softly. if you're ready." Wyatt didn't answer right away. He stared at the horizon, jaw tight. "She was from back east," he finally said. "Boston. Came out here with her father when she was 17. He was looking to invest in cattle. She was looking for adventure." "How did you meet?" "She got thrown from a horse outside town. I happened to be riding by." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "She was furious, not at the horse, at herself for falling. Told me she didn't need help getting up." "Did you help anyway?" "I did. She yelled at me the whole time." He shook his head. "I was gone by the time she finished yelling. Completely gone." Ellie watched his face. The pain there was old, but deep. "We married 6 months later. Her father hated me. Said I wasn't good enough. She didn't care." His voice roughened. "She chose me anyway." "She sounds brave." "She was. Brave and stubborn and beautiful." He paused. "And then she was gone." Ellie wanted to reach for his hand. She didn't. "The baby," she said quietly. "Was it a boy or a girl?" Wyatt closed his eyes. "A boy. We were going to name him Thomas, after her grandfather." The grief in his voice was so raw that Ellie felt it in her own chest. "I'm sorry, Wyatt. I'm so sorry." "Don't be." He opened his eyes. "It's not your burden to carry." "It is now. We're married." He looked at her then. Really looked. "Yeah," he said slowly. "I suppose we are." Something passed between them. Ellie couldn't name it, didn't try. "I should check on the horses," Wyatt said, standing abruptly. "Get some rest." He walked away before she could respond. Ellie sat alone on the porch, heart aching for a man who'd lost everything and somehow found the strength to try again. 2 weeks in, Ellie started cooking. It began small. Biscuits that actually rose. Gravy that actually had flavor. Then stew that made Wyatt go back for thirds. Then a pie made with berries she'd found growing wild behind the barn. "Where'd you learn this?" Wyatt asked, scraping his plate clean. "My grandmother, before she died." Ellie smiled at the memory. "She said cooking was love made visible." She was right. Ellie's cheeks warmed. She busied herself with the dishes. "You're different," Wyatt said from the table. "Different how?" "Lighter. Like you're starting to believe you belong here." She paused, hands in the soapy water. "Maybe I'm starting to." Wyatt stood, walked to the sink, stood beside her. "Ellie?" She turned. He was close. Closer than he'd ever been. "I need to tell you something." Her heart hammered. "What?" "Next week is the Founders' Day celebration in town. Everyone goes. Dancing, food, the whole thing." He paused. "People will expect us to be there." Her stomach dropped. "Go back to Dusty Creek? I know it's a lot to ask, after how they treated you. But if we don't show, they'll talk. They'll talk anyway. But this way, you control the story. This way, you show them you're not ashamed." Ellie's hands shook. Water dripped from her fingers. "I am ashamed, Wyatt. Every day. I look in the mirror and I see everything they see. Everything my mother sees." "What do they see?" "A fat girl who doesn't deserve anything good." The words hung between them, ugly and honest. Wyatt reached out. His wet hand took her wet hand. "You know what I see?" She shook her head. "I see a woman who survived 18 years of cruelty and still feeds stray dogs, who saved a child's life with nothing but herbs and patience, who wakes up every morning and tries, even when trying feels impossible."
Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I see someone worth choosing," Wyatt said. "Every single day." Ellie couldn't breathe, couldn't think. "Wyatt, you don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know." He released her hand, stepped back. "Think about it. The celebration, I mean. Whatever you decide, I'll support." He walked out, leaving her standing at the sink, heart racing, mind spinning. Go back to Dusty Creek. Face the people who'd mocked her. Stand beside the man who'd chosen her and prove she wasn't nothing. The thought terrified her. But something else terrified her more. The thought of hiding forever. That night she found Wyatt on the porch. "I'll go." He looked up. "You sure?" "No." She sat down beside him, closer than usual. "But I'm tired of being scared. I've been scared my whole life. Maybe it's time to try something else." Wyatt nodded slowly. "There's one more thing," Ellie said. "What?" "I want to dance." His eyebrows rose. "Dance?" "In the square, where everyone can see, where the Miller brothers can see." Her voice strengthened. "I want to dance with my husband and show them all that they didn't break me." Wyatt studied her for a long moment. Then he stood, held out his hand. "Then we should practice." "Now?" "No time like the present." Ellie stared at his outstretched hand. Her heart pounded. Slowly, she stood, took his hand. He pulled her closer, one hand at her waist, the other holding hers. "I don't know the steps," she whispered. "Neither do I. We'll figure it out together." There was no music, just crickets and wind and the beating of her own heart. They swayed together in the darkness, clumsy and uncertain, learning each other's rhythm. And somewhere between one step and the next, Ellie realized something had changed. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was starting to live. The week passed too quickly. Ellie practiced dancing every night. She mended her blue dress, took it in where she could, let it out where she couldn't. She washed her hair with soap that smelled like lavender and pinned it up the way her grandmother used to. On the morning of the celebration, she stood before the mirror in her room. Same round face, same body that would never be small. But her eyes were different. Brighter, steadier. A knock at the door. "Ellie? Almost ready?" She took a deep breath, opened the door. Wyatt stood in the hallway. He'd cleaned up too. Fresh shirt, clean trousers, hair combed back. He looked almost handsome. No, he looked handsome. She'd just been too scared to admit it. "You look..." He stopped, swallowed. "You look beautiful." Her cheeks burned. "I look the same as always." "No," he shook his head. "You don't." They stood there, looking at each other, the air between them thick with something unspoken. "We should go," Ellie finally said. "Yeah." Wyatt cleared his throat. "Yeah, we should." The ride to town felt shorter than before. Ellie sat in front of Wyatt on Caesar, his arms around her to hold the reins. She could feel his heartbeat against her back, steady and strong. "Nervous?" he asked. "Terrified." "Good. Means you're brave." "That doesn't make sense." "Bravery never does." Dusty Creek appeared ahead. The main street was decorated with flags and banners. People milled about, laughing, drinking, celebrating. Ellie's stomach clenched. "Remember," Wyatt said low in her ear, "you don't owe them anything. Not your tears, not your shame, not one damn thing." She nodded, couldn't speak. They rode into town, heads turned immediately. "Is that..." "It's her, the fat one. I can't believe he actually kept her." The whispers followed them like shadows. Ellie kept her chin up. Her hands trembled, but she kept them still. Wyatt dismounted first, then reached up for her. She took his hand, let him help her down. They walked into the square together. The crowd parted. Some people stared openly.
Others pretended not to look while watching from the corners of their eyes. Then Ellie saw her. Agnes Brennan stood near the punch table, dressed in her Sunday best, face tight with something between shock and shame. Their eyes met. Ellie's mother looked away first. Something cracked inside Ellie's chest. Old pain, old hope, old wishes that would never come true. But she didn't cry, didn't falter. She kept walking. "Ellie!" She turned. Clara Whitmore stood a few feet away. Golden hair, perfect face. The girl who'd moved away from her in the lineup. Clara hesitated. "I wanted to say, I'm glad you came." Ellie blinked. "You are?" "What I did that day, moving away from you, it was cruel." "I was scared and stupid, and I'm sorry." The apology was so unexpected that Ellie didn't know how to respond. "Thank you," she finally managed. Clara nodded, walked away. Wyatt appeared at her side. "What was that about?" "I'm not sure, but I think it was good." If Clara Whitmore's apology surprised you, wait until you see what happens next. Stay with me. The music started at sunset. A fiddle player on a makeshift stage began a slow, sweet tune. Couples drifted toward the center of the square, laughing, talking, dancing. Ellie watched from the edge. Her heart raced. "Ready?" Wyatt asked. "What if I fall?" "Then I catch you." "What if they laugh?" "Then we give them something better to look at." He held out his hand, the same way he had on the porch, the same way he had in the square 3 weeks ago. Ellie took it. They walked to the center of the dancing area. People noticed immediately. Whispers rose like wind. "She's going to dance? Her? This should be entertaining. I give it 10 seconds before she trips." Wyatt pulled her close, one hand at her waist, one hand holding hers. "Look at me," he said. "Only me." She raised her eyes to his, gray like storm clouds, steady like mountains. The music swelled. They began to move. It wasn't perfect. Ellie stumbled twice in the first few steps. But Wyatt held her steady, guided her through, never let her fall. And then something happened. She stopped thinking about her feet, stopped thinking about the crowd, stopped thinking about all the years of mockery and shame. She thought only about his eyes, his hands, the way he moved with her, not against her. The music lifted. She lifted with it. They turned, they swayed, they danced. And slowly, impossibly, the whispers changed. "Would you look at that? She's actually graceful. I never would have thought." Ellie heard them, but they didn't matter anymore. What mattered was Wyatt's hand in hers. What mattered was the smile spreading across his face. What mattered was the feeling rising in her chest, bigger than fear, bigger than shame. Joy, pure and simple. The song ended. They stopped, breathless, still holding each other. The crowd was silent. Then, from somewhere in the back, someone started clapping. Clara Whitmore. Others joined. Then more still. Not everyone. Some faces remained hard. Some arms stayed crossed. But enough to matter. Ellie looked up at Wyatt. Tears streamed down her face. "I did it," she whispered. "You did." "I actually did it." He leaned down. His forehead touched hers. "I'm proud of you," he said softly. "So damn proud." And then, before she could think, before she could doubt, she rose up on her toes and kissed him. A gasp rippled through the crowd, but Ellie didn't hear it. She heard only her own heartbeat, felt only his lips against hers, knew only that this moment was real, and she was here, and she was loved. When they pulled apart, Wyatt's eyes were wide. "Ellie, I love you," she said. The words spilled out before she could stop them. "I know it's fast. I know it doesn't make sense, but I love you, Wyatt Callahan. I love you." The square went completely silent. Wyatt stared at her. His jaw worked. His eyes glistened. Then he smiled. A real smile, full and bright and beautiful. "Took you long enough to say it?" He pulled her close and kissed her again, right there in the middle of Dusty Creek, in front of everyone who'd ever mocked her, ever doubted her, ever said she'd never be wanted. And this time, when the crowd erupted, it wasn't with laughter. It was with applause. Ellie Brennan had finally found her place in the world, and she was never letting go. The applause still echoed in Ellie's ears when she saw him. Silas Brennan pushed through the crowd, face red, bottle clutched in his fist. His eyes locked onto her like a predator spotting prey. "Well, well," he slurred. "Look at the fat girl playing princess." The crowd went quiet. The music stopped. Wyatt stepped in front of Ellie. "Walk away, old man." "Or what?" Silas laughed, ugly and mean. "You gonna shoot me? Over her?" He pointed at Ellie with his bottle. "She ain't worth the bullet." Ellie's stomach clenched. All the joy from moments ago drained away like water through sand. "Silas." Agnes appeared beside him, face pale. "Please, not here." "Shut up, woman." He shoved her aside. "I got something to say." The crowd pressed closer, hungry for drama, hungry for blood. Silas staggered forward. "You think you're something special now, girl? Think because some fool married you, that changes what you are?" Ellie's voice came out stronger than she expected. "What am I, Silas?" "A burden, a waste, a mouth that never stops eating." He laughed again. "I spent 8 years trying to get rid of you. 8 years of watching you take up space in my house, eat my food, shame my wife. Your wife is my mother. Your mother wishes you'd never been born." The words hit like a physical blow. Ellie looked at Agnes, waiting, hoping, praying for a denial. Her mother looked away. Something inside Ellie cracked. Not broke. She'd been broken before. This was different. This was the last piece of hope she'd been holding on to, finally letting go. "That's enough." Wyatt's voice cut through the silence like a blade. "You've said your piece. Now leave." "I ain't finished." "Yes." Wyatt stepped closer to Silas, close enough that the old man had to look up. "You are." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Silas spat on the ground at Wyatt's feet. "Keep her then. See how long before you regret it. See how long before you realize what everyone else already knows." He turned, stumbling. "She ain't worth nothin'. Never was. Never will be." He pushed through the crowd and disappeared into the darkness. The square stayed silent, everyone watching, everyone waiting. Ellie stood frozen. The words played over and over in her mind. "Your mother wishes you'd never been born. Your mother wishes you'd never been born. Your mother wishes—" "Ellie!" Wyatt's voice, distant, like hearing through water. "Ellie, look at me." She blinked. His face came into focus, concerned, steady. "I need to go," she whispered. I can't be here." "Okay, we'll go." "No." She stepped back. "I need to be alone. Just for a minute. Please." He hesitated. She saw the struggle in his eyes, wanting to protect her, knowing he couldn't fight this battle for her. "I'll be at the edge of town," he finally said, "with the horse. Take whatever time you need." She nodded, turned, walked away from the crowd, away from the whispers, away from everything. Behind her, she heard voices rising again. The party resuming. Life going on, as if nothing had happened, as if she didn't matter at all. If Ellie's pain is hitting close to home, you're not alone. Keep watching. Her story isn't over yet. Ellie found herself at the well. The same well where she'd drawn water that morning 3 weeks ago. The same well where the Miller brothers had pushed her down. The same well where Widow Crawford had spoken words that seemed like nonsense at the time. You are not what they see. You are what you choose to be. She leaned against the stone edge, looked down into the darkness. Her reflection was invisible, just blackness staring back. I thought I might find you here. Ellie spun around. Agnes Brennan stood a few feet away, arms wrapped around herself, face pale in the moonlight. What do you want? Ellie's voice was flat, empty. To talk. Now? After everything? Now you want to talk? Agnes flinched. Eleanor, please, don't. Ellie held up her hand. Don't call me that. You don't get to call me that. Silence. Agnes took a step closer. What Silas said, was it true? The question hung between them. Did you wish I'd never been born? Agnes's face crumpled. Her eyes filled with tears. Answer me, Mama. For once in your life, tell me the truth. Agnes's voice broke. I didn't know how to love you. The words were worse than a yes. Why? Ellie asked. Because I'm fat? Because I'm not beautiful? Because I remind you of everything you lost? Because you remind me of him! Agnes's voice rose, raw and broken. Every time I look at you, I see your father. His eyes, his smile, his kindness. She wiped her face with shaking hands. And it killed me, Eleanor. Every single day, it killed me. Ellie stared at her mother, saw for the first time the grief underneath the cruelty. He loved you, Agnes continued. God, how he loved you. Called you his little miracle. Said you were the best thing that ever happened to him. Her voice cracked. And then he died. And I was left with his miracle and nothing else. So you punished me. I didn't know how else to survive. That's not an excuse. No, Agnes shook her head. It's not. They stood there, mother and daughter, separated by years of pain and silence. I don't expect you to forgive me, Agnes finally said. I don't deserve it. But I need you to know that Silas was wrong. Ellie waited. You were never a burden, Eleanor. You were a gift I was too broken to accept. Agnes's voice dropped to a whisper. And watching you tonight, dancing with that man, looking so happy, I realized I'd spent 18 years destroying something precious, something I can never get back. Tears streamed down Ellie's face. She didn't wipe them away. It's too late, Mama. I know. You can't fix this with words. I know that too. Then why are you here? Agnes took a shaky breath. Because I needed you to know that when you walked into that square tonight, when you stood up and danced in front of everyone who ever mocked you, I was proud. Her voice broke completely. For the first time in 18 years, I was proud to be your mother. Ellie's heart shattered, not into pieces, into something new, something she didn't have a name for yet. She couldn't speak, couldn't move. Agnes stepped closer, hesitated, then reached out and touched Ellie's cheek, gently, like she was afraid Ellie might break. You're stronger than I ever was, Agnes whispered. Stronger than I ever taught you to be. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Eleanor. For all of it. Ellie closed her eyes, let the tears fall. Then, slowly, she reached up and covered her mother's hand with her own. They stood like that for a long moment. Not forgiving, not forgetting, just being. Two broken women, finally seeing each other clearly. "I have to go," Ellie finally said. "Wyatt's waiting." Agnes nodded, pulled her hand back. "He's a good man." "He is. He sees you, the way your father saw me once." Agnes's voice caught. "Don't let that go, Eleanor. Hold on to it with everything you have." Ellie turned to leave, then stopped. "Mama?" "Yes?" "I can't forgive you yet. Maybe not ever, but—" She took a breath. "Thank you for telling me the truth." Agnes nodded, tears still streaming down her face. "Goodbye, Eleanor." "Goodbye, Mama." Ellie walked away. She didn't look back. Wyatt was waiting exactly where he said he'd be. He stood beside Caesar, holding the reins, watching her approach. His face was tight with worry. "Ellie, are you—" She walked straight into his arms. He caught her, held her, didn't ask questions. She cried against his chest, all the pain and confusion and strange, fragile hope pouring out of her in waves. He held her through all of it, steady as always. When the tears finally stopped, she pulled back, looked up at him. "Take me home." "You sure? We can stay if you need—" "No," she shook her head. "I'm done with this town. I'm done with the past. I want to go home. Our home." Wyatt studied her face. Whatever he saw there made him nod. "Okay." He helped her onto the horse, mounted behind her. His arms came around her to take the reins. "Ready?" She leaned back against his chest, felt his heartbeat, steady and strong. "Ready." They rode out of Dusty Creek under a sky full of stars. Ellie didn't look back. What Ellie doesn't know yet is that the biggest test of her new life is still coming. Stay with me. The ranch felt different when they returned. Not the house, not the land. Something in the air itself. Wyatt helped her down from the horse. His hands lingered at her waist. "You should rest." "I don't want to rest." She turned to face him. "I want to talk." "About what?" "Everything. Nothing. I don't know." She pressed her hands against his chest. "I just don't want to be alone with my thoughts tonight." He covered her hands with his. "Then you won't be." They sat on the porch, same as they had so many nights before. But tonight felt charged. Different. "My mother told me something," Ellie said quietly. "I figured. You look lighter, heavier, both at once." "That's exactly how I feel." She pulled her knees up, wrapped her arms around them. "She said I remind her of my father. That's why she couldn't love me." Wyatt was quiet for a moment. "That's a hell of a thing to carry." "She also said she was proud of me tonight. For the first time ever." "How'd that feel?" Ellie thought about it. "Like closing a door I've been trying to walk through my whole life. It's still there, but I don't need to go through it anymore." Wyatt nodded slowly. "That's wisdom, Ellie. Most people never get there." "I had help." She looked at him. "You showed me I was worth something, before I could believe it myself." "You were always worth something. I just reminded you." She reached out, took his hand. "Wyatt?" "Yeah?" "Earlier tonight, when I said I loved you." His hand tightened around hers. "I remember." "You never said it back." The silence stretched between them. Ellie's heart raced. Then Wyatt stood, pulled her to her feet, drew her close. "I'm not good with words," he said, his voice rough. "Never have been. Sarah used to joke that getting me to talk was like pulling teeth from a mule." Despite everything, Ellie smiled.
But here's what I know. He cupped her face in his hands. I've been dead inside for 3 years, going through the motions, breathing, but not living. And then I saw you, in that square, being mocked by those boys, getting up anyway. His thumbs brushed her cheeks. Something woke up in me that day. Something I thought was gone forever. He leaned his forehead against hers. I love you, Eleanor Brennan Callahan. I love your strength, your kindness, your laugh when you're surprised by your own happiness. Tears spilled down her face. I love the way you talk to the horses like they understand every word. The way you hum when you cook. The way you look at me like I'm not as broken as I feel. His voice cracked. I love you. And I should have said it sooner. I should have said it every day since you got here. I'm sorry I didn't. Ellie couldn't speak, could barely breathe. So she kissed him instead. Not like the kiss in the square, public, defiant, a statement to the world. This kiss was different. This kiss was just for them. Soft at first, then deeper. Years of loneliness pouring out of both of them, meeting in the middle, becoming something new. When they finally pulled apart, Wyatt was breathing hard. Ellie, I know, she whispered. I know. I want you to stay. I'm not going anywhere. No. He pulled back enough to look at her. I mean, really stay. Not as a woman who is forced to marry me, not as someone with nowhere else to go. I want you to stay because you choose to, because you want to, because this is your home, not just a place you ended up. Ellie looked at him. This man who'd seen her at her lowest and chosen her anyway, who'd given her space to heal and strength to fight, who'd shown her what love looked like without ever demanding she return it. Wyatt Callahan, she said slowly, I choose you. Not because I have to, not because you saved me, because you're the only man who ever looked at me and saw someone worth loving. His eyes glistened. I choose this life, she continued. The early mornings, the hard work, the quiet nights on this porch. I choose the horses and the cattle and the dust and the heat. I choose all of it. She pressed her hand over his heart. I choose you. Today, tomorrow, every day after, for as long as you'll have me. Wyatt pulled her close, held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Forever then, he said against her hair. I'll have you forever. They stood on the porch, wrapped in each other, while the stars wheeled overhead and the night grew deep. And for the first time in her life, Ellie knew exactly where she belonged. 3 days later, everything changed. Ellie was in the kitchen, kneading bread, when she heard the horse approaching. Fast. Too fast for a casual visit. She wiped her hands and walked to the door. A rider she didn't recognize pulled up in front of the house. Young man, dusty clothes, panicked face. Ma'am, I'm looking for Wyatt Callahan. He's in the barn. What's wrong? There's trouble in town. The Miller boys. They got drunk last night and they're saying things. About you. About your husband. Ellie's blood went cold. What kind of things? The kind that gets people killed, ma'am. The rider shifted in his saddle. They're saying Callahan cheated in the marriage selection. Saying he bribed the sheriff. Saying... He hesitated. Saying what? Saying any man who'd choose a woman like you must be either crazy or crooked. And either way, he don't deserve that ranch. Ellie's heart hammered. Where's Wyatt? Ellie? Wyatt's voice came from behind her. He walked up from the barn, saw the rider, saw her face. What's going on? The rider repeated his message. With each word, Wyatt's expression hardened. When? He asked. They're gathering now, at the saloon. Billy Miller's been telling everyone who'll listen that he's going to ride out here and take what Callahan stole. I didn't steal anything. I know that, sir, but they're drunk and angry and looking for a fight. Figured you deserved warning. Wyatt was quiet for a long moment. Thank you. What's your name? Tommy Cooper, sir. Ellie's breath caught. Cooper. The boy she'd saved with herbs last winter. Tommy, she said softly. You've grown. The young man looked at her. Something passed across his face. Recognition. Gratitude. Shyness. Ma'am, my mama told me what you did when I was sick. The doctors gave up, but you didn't. He ducked his head. Figured I owed you. Tears pricked Ellie's eyes. Thank you, Tommy. He nodded, turned his horse. Be careful, Mr. Callahan. Billy Miller's crazy when he's sober. Drunk, he's dangerous. He rode off, leaving dust in his wake. Ellie turned to Wyatt. What are you going to do? His jaw was tight, his eyes hard. What I have to. Wyatt, no, you can't. I'm not going to hide, Ellie. Not from Billy Miller. Not from anyone. He took her hands. This is our home, our life, and I'll be damned if I let some drunk fool take it from us. They could kill you. They could try. This isn't funny. I'm not laughing. He squeezed her hands. Listen to me. I've faced worse than the Miller brothers. I've faced loss that would break most men. I'm still standing. That doesn't mean you're invincible. No, it means I know what's worth fighting for. He pulled her close. You're worth fighting for, Ellie. This life is worth fighting for, and I'm not giving it up without a fight. She pressed her face against his chest, felt his heart beating, strong and steady. Then I'm coming with you. Absolutely not. Wyatt? No. He pulled back, held her at arm's length. I need to know you're safe. If something happens to me, nothing's going to happen to you. If something happens, he repeated firmly, I need to know you're here, protected. Miguel will stay with you. I don't want Miguel. I want you. And you'll have me, tonight, tomorrow, every day after. He kissed her forehead. I promise. She wanted to argue, wanted to fight, but she saw the determination in his eyes and knew it was useless. Come back to me, she whispered. Always. He kissed her once more, hard and fast and full of promise. Then he walked to the barn, saddled Caesar, and rode toward town. Ellie stood on the porch, watching until he disappeared over the horizon. Her hands shook, her heart raced. And somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, This isn't over. The worst is yet to come. The waiting was the hardest part. Ellie stood on the porch, eyes fixed on the horizon where Wyatt had disappeared. Miguel stood nearby, rifle in hand, watching with her. He'll be fine, Senora. You don't know that. I know Mr. Callahan. He's survived worse than drunk boys with big mouths. Ellie didn't answer. Her hands twisted together, knuckles white. An hour passed, then 2. The sun began its slow descent toward the mountains. Still, no sign of Wyatt. Something's wrong, Ellie said. Senora, I can feel it. She turned to Miguel. I'm going. Mr. Callahan said, I know what he said. She was already moving toward the barn. Saddle Penny for me. Senora, please. He'll never forgive me if something happens to you. Ellie stopped, turned. And I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him while I stand here doing nothing. Miguel hesitated. She saw the conflict in his face. Please, Miguel, I have to go. I have to. Something in her voice must have reached him. He sighed. Penny's gentle, but she hasn't been ridden in 3 years. You sure you can handle her? I'll have to be. 5 minutes later, Ellie was on horseback for only the second time in her life. Penny moved uncertainly at first, adjusting to a rider after so long. Ellie gripped the reins too tight, her legs squeezing the horse's sides. "Easy, girl," she whispered. "We need to find Wyatt. Can you do that?" The horse nickered, started moving faster. Ellie held on and prayed. If Ellie's courage is inspiring you, drop a heart in the comments. This journey is almost over, but the best is yet to come. Dusty Creek appeared through the heat haze. Even from a distance, Ellie could tell something was wrong. People clustered in the main street, horses tied up outside the saloon. Too much noise, too much movement. She urged Penny forward. As she got closer, she heard it. Shouting, a crowd's roar, the unmistakable crack of fists hitting flesh. Her heart stopped. She jumped down from Penny before the horse fully stopped, nearly falling, catching herself, running toward the noise. The crowd parted as she pushed through. Some people recognized her. Whispers followed. "It's her, the fat one." "What's she doing here?" "This ought to be good." Ellie ignored them, shoved past, broke through to the front, and saw Wyatt. He was on the ground, blood on his face. Billy Miller stood over him, fists raised, 2 more men holding Wyatt's arms. "Not so tough now, are you?" Billy spat. "Big man thinks he can come into town, steal the best ranch, marry whatever trash he wants." "Billy!" Ellie's voice rang out clear and strong. "Stop!" The crowd went silent. Billy turned. His face split into an ugly grin. "Well, well." The pig came to watch. Laughter from his brothers, from others in the crowd. Ellie didn't flinch. "Let him go." "Or what?" Billy stepped toward her. "You gonna sit on me? Crush me with that fat—" "I said let him go." Something in her voice made Billy pause. Not fear, but surprise. "Ellie!" Wyatt's voice was ragged. "Get out of here. Now." "No." "Ellie, I'm not leaving you." She looked at Billy. "You want to hurt someone? Hurt me. I'm the one you've always hated, not him." Billy laughed. "You think I won't? You think I care that you're a woman? I think you're a coward who only hits people when they can't fight back." Ellie stepped closer. Her heart hammered, her legs shook, but she kept moving. "I think you've been a coward your whole life, and I think everyone in this town knows it." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Billy's face darkened. "You watch your mouth." "Or what?" Ellie spread her arms. "You'll mock me? Call me fat? Push me in the dirt?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You've done all that, Billy. For years. And here I am, still standing." Silence. Billy's fists clenched. His brothers shifted uncomfortably. "You think marrying some rancher makes you special?" Billy snarled. "You're still nothing. You'll always be nothing." "Maybe." Ellie's voice was steady now. "But I'd rather be nothing than be you." Billy lunged. Ellie didn't move. A shot rang out. Everyone froze. Sheriff Polk stood at the edge of the crowd, rifle raised, smoke curling from the barrel. "That's enough." Billy stopped mid-stride, his face twisted with rage. "Sheriff, this ain't your business." "Everything in this town is my business." Polk walked forward, boots heavy on the dirt. "Including assault. Including attempted murder." "Murder?" Billy laughed. "I was just teaching Callahan a lesson." 3 men holding one down while you beat him bloody?" Polk's voice was cold. "That's not a lesson, that's a crime." The crowd murmured. Billy's brothers released Wyatt. He stumbled, nearly fell. Ellie rushed to him, catching his arm, holding him steady. "You okay?" she whispered. "Been better." He managed a weak smile.
Blood dripped from a cut above his eye. "Told you to stay home." "I don't follow orders well." "I noticed." Sheriff Polk stopped in front of Billy. "Here's what's going to happen. You and your brothers are going to jail. Tonight. Tomorrow, we'll have a trial. And if I find out you've been spreading lies about Mr. Callahan, about bribes, about anything else, I'll add slander to the charges." "You can't do this." "I can and I am." Polk leaned closer. "You've been trouble in this town for years, Billy Miller. Today, that ends." Billy's face went pale, then red. His fists shook at his sides. For a moment, Ellie thought he might swing at the sheriff. Then his shoulders slumped. "This ain't over," he muttered. "Yes," Polk said. "It is." He nodded to his deputies. They stepped forward, grabbing Billy and his brothers, dragging them toward the jail. The crowd began to disperse. Some looked ashamed. Others just looked away. Ellie stood with Wyatt's arm around her shoulders, holding him up, both of them breathing hard. "You came for me," Wyatt said quietly. "Of course I did. I told you not to. And I told you I don't follow orders well." She touched his face gently, avoiding the cuts. "You're hurt." "I've had worse." "That doesn't make me feel better." He almost smiled. "You were incredible, standing up to Billy like that." "I was terrified. That's what made it incredible." They stood there, surrounded by the remnants of the crowd, holding each other up. Then a voice came from behind them. "Eleanor!" Ellie turned. Agnes stood a few feet away. Her face was pale, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "Mama, what are you doing here?" I saw what you did." Agnes's voice trembled. "Standing up to that boy, protecting your husband." She took a shaky breath. I needed to." She stopped, started again. "I was wrong, Eleanor. About everything. About you. About what you could be." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "You're brave. Braver than I ever was. And I'm proud. So proud." Ellie felt Wyatt's hand squeeze her shoulder. "Mama." "I know I can't undo the past. I know words don't fix what I broke." Agnes stepped closer. "But I want to try. If you'll let me. I want to try to be the mother you deserved." The crowd had grown quiet again, watching, listening. Ellie looked at her mother, saw the fear there, the hope, the fragile, desperate wanting. She thought about all the years of cruelty, the sharp words, the cold silences, the constant message that she was less than nothing. She thought about Wyatt, about second chances, about choosing what to become instead of being defined by what others saw. "I don't know if I can forgive you," Ellie said slowly. "Not yet. Maybe not ever." Agnes nodded. Her face crumpled. "But," Ellie continued, "I can try too. If you really mean it. If you're really willing to change." Agnes looked up. Hope flickered in her eyes. "I mean it, Eleanor. I swear I do." Ellie took a deep breath. Then she reached out and took her mother's hand. Agnes broke down completely. Sobs shook her thin frame. She clutched Ellie's hand like a lifeline. The crowd watched in silence. Wyatt leaned close to Ellie's ear. "You sure about this?" "No," she whispered back. "But I'm tired of carrying hate. It's too heavy." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "That's my girl." This moment is proof that healing is possible. If you believe that too, subscribe and share this story with someone who needs to hear it. The ride back to the ranch was slow.
Wyatt was too hurt to go fast. Ellie rode beside him on Penny, watching him constantly, heart clenching every time he winced. "Stop looking at me like that," he said. "Like what? Like I might fall off the horse and die." "You might. I've ridden with worse injuries." "That's not comforting." He chuckled, then groaned. "Don't make me laugh. Ribs hurt." They reached the ranch as the last light faded from the sky. Miguel ran out to meet them, relief flooding his face when he saw them both alive. "Señora, you found him!" "Barely." Ellie dismounted. "Help me get him inside." Together, they got Wyatt into the house, onto the bed. Ellie sent Miguel for water and clean cloths while she assessed the damage. Cut above his eye, split lip, bruised ribs. Nothing broken as far as she could tell. "You're lucky," she said, dabbing blood from his face. "I don't feel lucky." "Billy could have killed you." "Billy's a coward. He would have stopped eventually." "You don't know that." Wyatt caught her hand, held it still. "Hey, look at me." She met his eyes, gray like storm clouds, steady like always. "I'm okay," he said. "Because of you. You saved me today." "I just yelled at Billy. The sheriff did the real work." "You gave the sheriff time to get there. You distracted Billy. His voice caught. "You rode into danger for me. After everything you've been through, after all the reasons you have to be scared, you got on a horse and came for me." Tears pricked her eyes. "I couldn't lose you," she whispered. "I just found you." He pulled her down, kissed her gently, mindful of his split lip. "You're not going to lose me. Ever. I promise." She curled up beside him on the bed, careful not to press against his bruised ribs. His arm wrapped around her, holding her close. "Ellie?" "Yeah?" "When we have children, I want them to be like you." Her heart stopped. "Children?" "If you want them. Only if you want them." He paused. "I know what happened with Sarah and the baby. I know it scares me. But seeing you today, seeing how strong you are, how brave, I think we could do it. Together." Ellie couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Children. A family. Things she'd never dared to dream about. "We don't have to decide now," Wyatt added. "I just wanted you to know. I want a future with you. A real future. Whatever that looks like." She pressed her face against his chest, felt his heartbeat, steady and strong. "I want that too," she whispered. "I want all of it." His arm tightened around her. They lay there as night fell, two people who'd found each other against all odds, dreaming of a future neither had dared to imagine. 6 months later, Dusty Creek had changed. Not completely. Some people never stopped whispering. Some faces still turned away when Ellie walked past. But others had changed. Clara Whitmore had become something like a friend, visiting the ranch sometimes, bringing news from town. Tommy Cooper worked at the general store now, always nodding politely when Ellie came in. And Agnes was trying. She came to dinner once a week. The conversations were awkward at first. Painful silences. Old wounds reopening. But slowly, painfully, something new was growing. Not forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But something. On a cool autumn evening, Ellie stood on the porch, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold and purple. Wyatt came up behind her, his arms wrapped around her waist, hands resting on her belly, on the slight curve that had appeared there over the past 2 months. "How are you feeling?" "Scared," Ellie admitted. "About the baby?" "About everything. About whether I'll be a good mother. About whether the town will accept our child. About whether—" "Stop." Wyatt turned her gently to face him. "Listen to me." She looked up at him. The scar above his eye had faded to a thin white line.
You are going to be an incredible mother because you know what it's like to be hurt, what it's like to be alone, what it's like to have no one believe in you. He cupped her face in his hands. Our child will never feel that way because you will make sure of it. Tears spilled down her cheeks. What if they're like me? What if they're different? Then they'll be perfect. He kissed her forehead, just like their mother. Ellie closed her eyes, let his words sink in. 6 months ago, she'd been a girl who believed she was worthless, a burden, a shame. Now she was a wife, soon to be a mother, owner of a ranch that stretched toward the mountains, builder of a life she'd never dared to dream. Wyatt? Yeah? Thank you. For what? For seeing me, in that square, when everyone else saw nothing. He pulled her close. I didn't see nothing, Ellie. I saw everything. I saw you. She pressed her face against his chest, listened to his heartbeat, felt their child, barely more than a flutter, growing inside her. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. He pulled back enough to look at her. Both of you. His hand rested on her belly, warm, protective. Ellie covered his hand with hers. The sun sank below the mountains. Stars began to appear, one by one, scattered across the darkening sky. Hey, Ellie? Yeah? Dance with me. She laughed. Out here? There's no music. Don't need music. He took her hand, pulled her into his arms. We never needed music. They swayed together on the porch, the way they had that first night, when everything was new and terrifying and full of possibility. But this time was different. This time, Ellie wasn't dancing to prove anything. Not to the town. Not to her mother. Not to herself. She was dancing because she was happy. Because she was loved. Because she had finally found her place in the world. The stars wheeled overhead. The night grew deep, and two people, once broken, now whole, held each other close and moved to music only they could hear. A year later, Ellie gave birth to a daughter. They named her Rose, after Wyatt's grandmother, after the flowers Ellie had started growing in the garden behind the house. Rose had her father's gray eyes and her mother's stubborn chin. She cried loudly and laughed often, and grabbed onto Ellie's finger like she'd never let go. When Agnes held her for the first time, she wept. She's beautiful, she whispered. So beautiful. Ellie watched her mother cradle her granddaughter and felt something shift inside her. Not forgiveness, not quite, but peace. Thank you, Agnes said quietly, for letting me be part of this. Thank you for trying. They looked at each other, mother and daughter, grandmother and mother. 3 generations of women, all of them scarred, all of them healing, all of them learning what it meant to love. That night, after everyone had gone, Ellie sat in the rocking chair Wyatt had built, Rose sleeping against her chest. Wyatt sat on the floor beside her, his hand resting on her knee. You did good today, he said quietly. We did good. She smiled down at Rose. All 3 of us. 4? 4? Wyatt grinned. Penny counts. She's part of this family too. Ellie laughed softly, careful not to wake the baby. Outside, the wind moved across the land. The horses shifted in the barn. The cattle called to each other in the darkness. Home. This was home. Wyatt? Yeah? Remember what you said that first day, when you were explaining why you chose me? I remember. You said you'd been watching me, that you saw me feed a stray dog, help a sick child. get up when I was knocked down. I remember all of it. Ellie looked at him, her husband, her partner, the man who'd changed everything. I spent my whole life being told I was worthless, that no one would ever want me, that I'd never amount to anything. She paused. And then you came along and saw something different. I saw who you really were. No, she shook her head. You saw who I could become. And you gave me the chance to become her. Wyatt's eyes glistened. Ellie, I'm not finished. She took a breath. I used to think love was something you earned, something you had to deserve. But you taught me that's not true. Love isn't something you earn. It's something you give, freely, without conditions. She looked down at Rose, at this perfect, precious life they'd created together. I want our daughter to know that. I want her to grow up knowing she's loved. Not because of what she looks like, not because of what she achieves, just because she exists, just because she's her. Wyatt stood, kissed her forehead, kissed Rose's tiny head. She'll know, he said, because we'll show her. Every single day. Ellie leaned into him, let his strength hold her up, the way it always did. Outside, the stars blazed bright. The world was quiet. And in a small ranch house in the middle of nowhere, a family slept, dreaming of tomorrow. Eleanor Brennan Callahan had spent 24 years believing she was nothing. It took one man, one choice, one leap of faith to show her the truth. She wasn't nothing. She was everything. And she was just getting started. Thank you for staying with Ellie until the very end. Her journey from rejection to redemption proves that no matter what the world tells you, your worth is not determined by their eyes. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to this channel for more stories of hope, love, and second chances. And remember, you are worthy of love, exactly as you are. Always.